Hey everybody, ASIC Eric here again, back on the Camaro today. Just wanted to take a look at this thing in the daylight here. I gotta tell you, I'm pretty darn happy with how that came out. I really didn't expect that to look that good. That bodywork I did on the flex bumper, and it was just a tiny little repair like that. That's really the only body work that I've done. I did some body work on my Camaro when I was a teenager and just made a total pig's ear of it. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. But this came out just really sweet. I mean, it's like I said before, it's not perfect, but it's awfully close. It's just smooth. Focus. It's really nice. If this was on the top of the car, I'd be a lot less happy because there are some warbles and stuff, and it's not exactly right, but it's low down on the car in a place where you're not going to see it. Anyway, this is black, right? It's not gloss black, but that's about as bad as it's going to get. And it's good. Very good. So I'm pretty happy with it. All right, hey, enough of that. Today, back on the rocker. So as I showed in the video yesterday, I spent some time trying to dissect this thing and get the donor rocker apart. I took out all the welds that I could see and thought that was it, but it's not. There's still something going on in here, so I'm gonna probably just cut this. I'm not worried about the inner rocker. Cut this out so I can see what's going on. There's a support brace that runs up along inside there, and it looks like it's welded up in here. So I want to get that off and get an idea of what things look like here. Based on all that work there, as I said when I was working on this one, I really don't want to tear into this part of the rocker if I can avoid it. Especially now that I know it goes back in here too, even worse. So I'm going to continue to look at this and figure out what I want to do, but I think what I might do is kind of go through this part right here and maybe put a seam maybe across the top here in a place that's easy to grind the welds off and stuff. Maybe I'll go further back, I don't know, and then follow this line through, but then take this on up like that, because this has got the brazing in it, which I have to get around. I got to get that out, but there's no brazing anywhere in the rest of this, I don't think, just to avoid tearing all of this apart. But I don't know. Let me see how hard it is to get that other one apart, and then we'll make that decision. And the donor rocker comes back to here somewhere. I don't exactly know where. This one's okay everywhere back here except for this dent. So I will try and find a good spot, maybe here somewhere, to cut it. And I'll take it from there. Anyway, let me finish taking that other one apart. All right, so what I'm struggling with here is this internal brace here, which is welded to the rocker down here, is this piece of metal right here. So it comes up and around all of this. So all of this here is that, which you can probably see here. If you look down in there, up in there, there's the brace. You can see it comes up right here and then continues on and is all of this. That part I don't need to mess with. If I take this off, I can break off those welds down there, but I don't know how I put that back together when I weld the panel, because that's inside the thing. I guess I could try and plug weld it from the bottom or something, but I really don't know what I'm doing here. I might have to take a few minutes and go poke around the YouTube for a while and see if I can find a video on somebody doing this. Because I really don't know what the heck I'm doing here. So anyway, I do need to do some more cutting here to get this stuff apart. Alright, well, that completely reinforced my belief that I don't want to get up into that corner of the rocker and jam area if I can avoid it. So I drilled out from the bottom where that brace was, but all on the top here is all welded together. There's a piece I just took out there for reference. So over here, it's all welded inside there, which is welded through this, to this, to this. So I ain't gonna touch that. That's just way more stuff than I want to bite off. So I think my plan will be as follows. I'm going to dissect this a little bit more to make sure I know what I'm looking at here, but I'm going to leave all that stuff in place in there. I got to straighten this brace out because it's bent. It's not rusted or anything, so this is all good in here. So I'm going to try and follow this line across here. I'll peel this piece of the jam up here so I can stick that under there and then go around the bottom back here somewhere and across the top, and I'm just going to cut it somewhere in here. I don't know. I haven't figured that part out yet, but I don't want to get into this stuff. That's a mess. So much stuff in here you have to get into. And I mean, this was the donor, which I had pretty easy access to, and still, man, I just brutalized that thing getting it apart. So I don't want to do that to my car, and I don't need to. So let me cut into this a little bit more, make sure I know what I'm looking at, but I think that's a sound plan. Alright, so I'm going through here and trying to map out my plan of attack. And I was looking at the dent there, the dent ends right there, so that looked like a good place to section it. Taking my straight edge here, see, it's pretty good. But then I came across here, and whoops, see that gap right there? So starting right about where that hole is right there, it starts to go wonky, and you can see it's way off. Now, I don't think the car is bent. I think it's just the rocker, at least I hope so. This edge looks pretty straight coming through here until this area. I don't see any signs of damage or anything in here, but it could be off a little bit. The doors and everything lined up okay on the car when it was put together, so I think the car is alright. I'll try and look at the inside edge here. You can see that bow in it, and the new panel doesn't have that, or very minimal if it does. The new old panel, because it does have a tiny little bit of a crown to it, so maybe that's okay. But anyway, so I was going to cut it here, but I actually think I'm going to move it back to here to try and get closer to where it's straight and not have to deal with that big gap right there. So move that line back a little further. Alright, let's show you where we're at. So this thing came out without too much trouble. I was having a problem cutting right here. Couldn't figure out why. That's why. Alright, anyway. So I cut a little bit short of the line here, which gives me the option to grind this back and get a nice perfectly straight line, because I can't cut a line straight like that. Everything looks fine up here, so I got to bend this guy back into shape, but it looks okay. As you can see, there's not really any rust or anything in here. I managed to get the bottom off without tearing up the inner rocker very much at all, maybe. And the top here, I drilled it from the back side, and that mostly came out okay. There's a couple of chewy spots in there, but it worked out pretty well. So, this is what came out of there. As I mentioned in that other video, this internal brace here, I don't understand that, because the other rocker doesn't have that. It's a strange little bit where I want to think it's something they put in after it got hit, but they would have had to take the rocker off to do that. It doesn't look like they did, so I don't know. This is the piece that was on the bottom. Pretty buggered up, as you can see. So, there's all the crap that came out of the car there. The rockers are actually fairly clean on the inside. I was surprised. As you can see, there's not a lot of stuff going on in there. That's good. Just a little bit of cleanup. They're good to go. Let me check this here. Anything up there I need to be concerned with? Nope, doesn't look like it. I'll just vacuum all of that stuff out and it's good to go. And then I got to start fitting the other rocker in here and trying to figure out exactly where it's going to go. Oh, I still have to do this. Take care of that. Well, that's not what I wanted to find in there. More brazing. No big deal. I'll just I'll cut this piece out too. I have a replacement from the other rocker I can just stitch on there. There's a little brazing up in that corner there, so I might section a little piece out here or something. We'll see. Alright, so I have that thing just stuck on there. I managed to get it cut close enough where I could jam it on top. You can see it's laying on top of the other rocker there. And now I've got to try and finesse exactly where it's supposed to go. So this edge here needs to be trimmed back a little bit more. I don't exactly know how much here. I can try. I measured this gap right here was 6 1/4. Let me check that before I took everything apart. So that's pretty close. It's off by about 1/8 of an inch, it would appear. That gap there is about 1/8 of an inch. This doesn't necessarily go right to that edge. So this needs to come back approximately 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to take a 1/16 off, or say, back here, and a little bit more here because you can see it's pretty far off up there. I just eyeballed this cut and it's pretty close. So let me try and get that trimmed back a little bit. Once I get this all lined up where I want, I have a tape edge here where the cut is, plus a little bit more. So I can cut along that tape edge, and then I'll have just a little bit of overlap left there. Alright, so I think here's the first inkling that this is not where it's supposed to be here. See that little bend right there? Needs to come that way a smidge. It's not good news. Hopefully that damage is contained just to this one spot right here. It looks like the car was hit right here or something, so this is pretty well lined up in through here, as you can see. That is too high and too far that way, and then it's low over here, which kind of looks like the whole thing. If you push it this way, it's gonna come up like that. So I don't really want to start wailing on that with a hammer, but keep trying to fit here and see how close I can get. It's not quite cut right here yet, so I'm going to trim this back a little bit more. It'll give me a better sense of where things are. Okay, so I think that's pretty close to where it's supposed to go. Might still be off a smidge, but we're cinched here, cinched down here, and in the back. And you can see how far off that is there. I did check the other side of the car, and that does come straight up. I don't know if I'm able to show you how bad that is. So this is vertical here, this is going that way, and you can see the gap there. It's pretty uniform coming across here, and then it tightens up as you get up to the top, so kind of implies this whole piece here needs to come this way. So I am gonna get out a hammer and beat on it and see what happens. Hopefully it can move it into the right direction. Alright, well, I'm gonna throw this out there to you guys and see what you think about this. I can see all these welds are cracked in here. I don't know if that's from me banging on it or that's the way it was. With suitable persuasion here, I can get this thing to line up. And you see, it's just this little piece right here that's bent. The rest of this is not going. And same thing down here. It's not too hard to get everything to line up. So I can pull this out. It's obviously bent right there. It's supposed to be straight. So I think this is okay. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, the only alternative I see here is cutting a big piece out of this and splicing this in, which I have one right here, which is in pretty good shape. I didn't destroy it as part of taking it apart, but I'd kind of rather not do all that work. But let me know what you guys think, if that's necessary or not. So much work. So if I need to get in there, I can section this piece out here somewhere, take the spot welds out, cut this piece out. That structural support from the bottom is coming up right here, which is a little bent right there too, but I think hammer and dolly I could straighten that piece back out and then fix all these welds in here. The inner rocker doesn't look like it's damaged at all. I mean, maybe I got bent out a little bit right there, but it looked like the bulk of the bending is right there. You can see it. Ooh, that's a lot of work. So I'm gonna pretty much stop here today. I think I'm gonna maybe see if I can get this end section here so I can actually get this piece in there properly, and then find out if everything still lines up the way I think it should. So I need to mark the tape line here and start massaging this back edge here. I'll probably do that, and then I'm going to call it a day. Alright, so we have this pretty close to its final location. You can see the cut there is pretty close. Gap there's pretty good. That's a nice welding size gap. So what I'm going to do is take my scribe here and scribe this line, and then instead of trying to match this rocker to this, I'll cut this piece to match the line there, because it's easier to do that than try and keep guessing at this to get that edge. There's my scribed edge. As you can see, it's pretty close. There's one spot in here that was already the right gap, so if I'd cut any more I'd have a hole. But I think it's all pretty good. So now I'm going to take the grinding wheel and just start pulling this back to that line. Alright, let's show you where we wrapped up here. This panel's mostly correctly in the right place. Just a little bit of alignment issues here that I need to deal with. These panels don't exactly match. It's a little high right there, but it's good here. It's a little persuasion with a hammer. I think I can get that sorted out. Here's where this ended up here. So I did a little bending and tweaking on this piece right here, and I got that edge mostly correct. It's got a little bit of a flare on it right here. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. I have a little bit of tension right here pushing this way, not a lot. See, I'm just barely kind of moving this here, so I think I can get that in the right place without too much effort now. It's pretty close. This is where the original, the new rocker wanted to be. I haven't moved this, and that's supposed to go under that panel right there. So that's in the right spot. That's straight across there. That's last time I checked. Yeah, mostly correct. This is bowed out a little bit here actually, so that's actually good. So I can push that in a little bit, which will help that piece. This looks good. This stuff I've been just bending out of the way because this panel, every time I cinch it down, it wants to move down, so I'm not quite sure where that, something in there is still pushing it down. This got bent in a little bit, so when that comes out, that'll be in the right spot. Now you can see it's pretty close to the level it's supposed to be. That one down there is going to be fine, I think. So I think this is okay. There's not a lot of tweaking here. Let me show you inside. So you can see the gap right there between the inner rocker and this thing. Once this is all set, I can just pop that back to where it's supposed to be and weld it back in place, so I don't think that's a big deal. And I think everything else is where it's supposed to be. I've been trying to go along here with the straight edge and check things out. So that's pretty straight all the way across there. This one here, see, it's a little bit low right there. Come to this edge here. Good. It's a little bit low right there, but the panel's not exactly lined up right. So I think all in all that's okay. I think I can make that work. Let me know what you guys think. If it's worth getting into this thing and mucking with it or not. I think it's okay. I can work on this bit a little bit here to just kind of split this and line it up where it needs to be to get the edges where they're supposed to be. I don't think that's going to be an issue. And that's it, I think. So I'm looking forward to your guys' comments, what you think about this. Like I said, when I started this project, I'm kind of out of my element here. I've not done structural stuff like this before, so it's a little disconcerting, but I think you can see here, looking down the panel, I think we've got a good edge. It does look like it's got a little bit of a bow out right there. Which is one concern I have when I put the door on later. Am I going to have a problem here? But I guess if it's close, not too far off, I can massage it a little bit and get it to where it needs to go, but I can't really put the door on it when it's up in the air like this. Anyway, thanks everybody. Appreciate your comments. Take care.